If movies and TV shows are to be believed, you'd think that all it takes to protect you from a deadly bullet to the chest is whatever random yet profoundly sentimental item you happen to have tucked away in your breast pocket. An old watch, a mobile phone, very often a Bible. It doesn't matter. Whatever small object happens to be the most emotionally significant or narratively expedient will do. Thinking about it though, is this merely a ludicrous movie trope we tolerate in service of satisfying storytelling? Or does this actually happen?
I'm Stu, and welcome to Debunked, where we sort the truths from the myths and the facts from the misconceptions.
Like, subscribe, and leave us a comment about whether you think an everyday object that you carry on you could stop a bullet. The idea of bullets being fortuitously stopped by pocket items has a long tradition in popular culture. Sometimes referred to as the pocket protector trope, it has been appearing in cinema since at least as early as 1935, in Alfred Hitchcock's The 39 Steps, when the protagonist is saved from a gunshot to the chest by a conveniently positioned hymn book. More contemporary examples can be found in movies such as The Legend of Zorro, Sleepy Hollow, White House Down, and Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Indeed, it has become such a cliche that it has been parodied multiple times.
Sinner's Mobile could use that. Wow, lucky I always keep a Bible close to my heart. Huh?
As for real life, one need only take the briefest of glances at the good old World Wide Web to find headline after headline describing hyper-lucky or seemingly miraculous bullet stoppage. These myriad stories come from a range of wars and conflicts throughout history, as well as from shootings involving the police and just regular people. The prototypical example of bullet-blocking Bibles is particularly popular. After all, it makes a good headline. Stories of the good book literally saving lives have been talked about for pretty much as long as the history of firearms themselves. Possibly the earliest reference comes from the 17th century. Theologian Richard Baxter states that there were multiple accounts during the English Civil War.
The marvelous preservation of soldiers by Bibles in their pockets which have received the bullets.
If stopping one bullet isn't impressive enough, there's an account of a Union soldier, Walter G. Jones, recorded in the Library of Congress, whose life was saved by one Bible from two separate bullets during two separate battles in 1864 and 1865. There are countless examples recorded through history, and the more conflicts there are, the more remarkable the stories become. During World War I, a bullet was even stopped by a Bible on a relevant passage.
I will preserve thee.
Skipping forward to 2022, a Ukrainian soldier claimed his Bible stopped a bullet on the passage,
I press on toward the goal to win the prize of God's heavenly calling in Christ Jesus.
However skeptical you may be about such bold claims, clearly there are enough stories, tales and rumours about this happening that warrant some investigation. So, what does science say about everyday objects, particularly Bibles, blocking bullets?
Perhaps unsurprisingly, there have been a number of experiments and investigations into this very topic, pretty much all of which involve shooting a whole bunch of things a whole bunch of times. And the results are very interesting indeed. One of the most thorough investigations into this phenomenon actually comes from those wacky TV scientists, the Mythbusters. In an episode in 2004, their team popped a cap into a range of commonly held items, including lighters and a deck of playing cards, both of which failed miserably at stopping bullets. When books were put to the test, they found that while a hardcover book of at least 400 pages might provide some protection against a relatively puny .22 caliber rifle shot, it would stand no chance against anything more powerful. Not exactly encouraging. More recently, in 2018, a police department in the American state of Oklahoma shot school textbooks to see how much protection they could provide in an active shooter situation. They found that 2 textbooks could provide protection against a handgun, while 3 textbooks were needed to stop a round fired from an AR-15 rifle, a gun infamous for its frequent use in American mass shootings. If it isn't obvious by now, a small pocket Bible is not particularly protective against gunfire. While a whole pile of books and large stacks of paper can eventually halt a bullet, every investigation has found that a single book can only stop the wimpiest of gunfire. And even then, it has to be far larger than your average pocket Bible to even stand a fighting chance.
So, what's going on here? Why are there so many accounts of this happening if experiments into this phenomenon routinely show that small, single books are generally pretty useless at stopping standard gunfire? Are they all fake, or is something else at play?
There are lots of things to consider here. First of all, a lot of these stories originate from time periods when guns were generally far less powerful, which makes the possibility of small objects blocking bullets considerably more plausible. It's also impossible to know the exact circumstances of any given shooting incident. The aforementioned investigations pretty much all involved using modern guns, firing modern bullets directly at the objects. But in the real world, not everything is as exact and precise. Bullets fired in the heat of war, or in the chaos of a shooting, very well may not follow a perfect A to B path, from gun to target, or make impact at a perfectly straight angle. Bullets often ricochet off of things like trees, walls, and the ground, which slows them down and causes them to tumble in the air, reducing their speed and lethality. Bits of shrapnel that have broken off from larger projectiles, while still incredibly dangerous, are often not moving as fast or travelling as directly as a normal bullet. Indeed, a Bible from World War II is notable for the large hole in its centre, and the handwritten note by its owner, Lieutenant Jenkins.
Shrapnel bullet from shell of 75mm field gun, about May 6th or 7th, 1915.
The key word here is shrapnel. A direct hit from the shell of a large mounted gun like this would not have been stopped by any amount of paper.
An object also doesn't necessarily have to fully block a bullet to provide protection.
In 2009, an Argentine pastor who was shot at close range during an attempted robbery in Buenos Aires escaped with only superficial injuries, as the bullet was deflected by a psalm book he was carrying.
So, as with many things, the reality of this common movie cliché is that it's complicated.
While testing proves that small everyday items provide little to no protection against bullets, it's clear from history that this is a real phenomenon that does occasionally occur. This is simply because if something happens enough, i.e. people shooting guns at each other, things that would, on an individual basis, be considered highly unlikely, i.e. those people being saved by carried items, do begin to occur from time to time. That's just the nature of probability.
The extent to which these genuine occurrences can be considered miraculous is another question altogether.
First of all, Bibles are by no means the only items to block bullets. Canadian actor James Doohan, famous for his role as Scotty in the original Star Trek series, survived being shot several times during the Second World War, with one bullet destined for his chest being deflected by a silver cigarette case. And on the 14th of October 1912, former American President Theodore Roosevelt famously survived an assassination attempt after being shot in the chest. The bullet passed through Roosevelt's glasses case, which also contained a rolled-up copy of the speech he had planned to deliver, before lodging itself in his chest muscle. Roosevelt immediately asked that no harm come to his assailant, then delivered his full 90-minute speech as planned before accepting medical help. He lived with a bullet in his chest for the remainder of his life. But for every life-saving account, we must also consider the stories of people like William Preston Mangum, another Confederate soldier from the American Civil War who was hit by a Union bullet. While the Bibles of other soldiers served as holy shields, Mangum was only saved from instant death by a Bible in his pocket, which broke the force of the ball. He died a week later from the resulting chest wound. So, to conclude, is it possible that a bullet could be stopped, slowed, or deflected by an object held on one's person such that it may prevent or lessen a possibly fatal gunshot injury? Yes. Is it likely? No, not at all. The reasons why we can find so many examples of this cliché actually happening are because the sensationalized accounts of bulletproof Bibles are far more notable than the stories of people who weren't saved by their everyday carry. And because humans are constantly shooting each other all the chuffing time, it means that once in a gazillion times, the perfect conditions occur in the exact right way, which result in a seemingly miraculous escape from death.
Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and make sure you turn on the notifications for our next release. See you next time.